Hi friends. So the posture I want to break down for you now is downward facing dog. I'll show you your standard down dog. Then I will show you a modification that you can do if you're doing it on your hands and your legs. And then I'll show you options that you can use for your chair pose. So down dog is the posture. It's probably the most popular posture. It's the one that looks roughly like this. So roughly, that was an unintentional pun. So it is your upside down V-shaped position. If you haven't yet watched the video about mountain pose, I highly encourage you at this point to stop this video and go back and watch that one because I'm going to refer to it a couple of times in this video. So all yoga postures, as a reminder, we want to build from the ground up. So what is on the ground in mountain pose? It's our hands and it's our feet, right? When you come to your mountain pose, you want your hands shoulder width distance apart and your feet hip width distance apart. There is a tendency in lots of down dogs for folks to bring their toes together or their feet really, 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 really wide. Same with your hands. So you want to avoid any of this unless you are a pregnant mama and you need a little bit more wide space between your feet so you can get your baby back. All right, the rest of us, we want to stay in alignment with our joints, our hands in line with our shoulders, and our hips in line with our feet. Now, big myth, my friends. Most people look at down dog and they say, this is a posture for your hamstrings. I have to get my legs straight in down dog. Now, that is what I would call a secondary intention. Your primary intention in your downward facing dog is to lengthen your spine. And this is why that mountain pose video is important. Let me show you. Well, let me go back to the foundation real quick. With your hands and your down dog, spread your fingers really wide. So like big starfish hands rather than tiny little glove or mitten hands. Come closer so you can see this. Sometimes people do down dog with mitten hands. We want them spread wide just so we have more support for our body, right? It's nice wide hands with your wrist creases right here aligned with the front edge of your mat rather than your arms turned out. Because if you do this, if you play this game straight forward and out, you're going to feel that in your upper back and your shoulders. This is like a dance. Okay, enough of that. So we have our foundation, yeah? Shoulder width distance, hip width distance, hands spread wide. Now, this is a posture about your low back, not necessarily about your hamstrings. So let me demo this for you. Let me show you what can happen here, because it definitely happens on my body. So if you work right now, you can see my down dog, my knees are bent a little bit, and my heels are up off the floor. Okay, I'll get to the heels in 1 second. Staying with the legs. If I straighten my legs in my down dog, you may see my low back round. I'm going to exaggerate that a little bit for you. So here's bent knees, lengthen my spine. Here's straight legs, which I just can't do. My hamstrings are not that open. My body is not built that way. So my body and lots and lots and lots of other humans will need you to have your knees bent to lengthen your spine. Okay? You always want to take care of your back first. Always, always, always your back first. Quick note on heels. So you'll see my heels are up off the ground. Sometimes people can get their heels all the way on the ground. If I were to walk my feet further forward, I could. But this posture is not about your Achilles tendon. That's your Achilles tendon right here at the back of your heels, okay? So you never want to force your heels to your mat because you really want to take care of your Achilles tendon. You don't want to rip that at all. That is no fun, okay? So again, wide base with your fingers, hands and feet hip width distance apart. Bend your knees to keep your low back long. Let me tell you, my friends, spoiler alert, for pretty much every yoga posture, you're going to bend your knees to lengthen your back almost every single time. when you're upside down like that, okay? Knees bent equals long back, super rad. Now, as you begin to get into your practice a little bit more, your hamstrings may open up more and your legs might be able to be straight with a straight back. Your heels might be able to touch the ground. That's awesome, but back comes first. So my friends, for which this posture is really difficult. Oh, hold on, let me talk about distance real quick. If you come to a plank pose, right, so we talked about this being mountain pose with your hands out in front of you, the width of your down dog should be just about this wide. So you should be able to pike your hips up and back. So this is your down dog. Now, if this is really rough on your shoulders, that was my unintentional pun again, rough. It's totally cool to walk your hands in closer and bend your knees a lot. Because right now, I'm not making my perfect V, that's fine. But look at my back. How nice and long is my back? And I have a lot of extra weight out of my hands. So you can always walk in a little bit if you have a shoulder injury. That was modification 1. If you're good to go with that information, you can stop this video. But I'll show you a couple of things you can do with your chair if you're doing your practice on your chair. So I'm going to move my handy props off and over to the side. So there's 2 ways. Sometimes we use the chair when we're standing. Sometimes we use the chair when we're sitting. I'll show you both. So if you were standing at the back of your chair and you wanted to do a downward facing dog, and you know the most important thing is to lengthen your spine, what would you do? Step back, send your booty back, and lengthen your head forward. Now I'm not hanging, overarching or hyperextending my shoulders. I'm bringing a bend to my knees, lengthen the crown of your head forward and your tailbone back. Similar benefit to your downward facing dog. Spine lengthener. Similarly, if you were seated, so I'm sitting in my chair, feet hip width distance apart, seated with a nice tall back, you could get a similar benefit by bending forward as long as your spine stays nice and neutral. Sometimes it can be helpful to place your hands on your knees and pull back a little bit and lengthen your head forward. Got it, friends? Keep your hands and feet shoulder and hip width distance apart. The posture is about lengthening your spine. Let go of the need to straighten your legs. Keep them bent to lengthen your spine. There's no need for straight legs. There's no need for heels on the floor. You make this posture feel good in your body, and you email me if you have questions. Allie, Houseworth, 2 L's, @gmail.com.